and welcome. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Catamaran. So this is the next design that I came up with. It falls in the Explorer class. So if you haven't seen an Explorer class video in a while, or don't know what I'm talking about, basically I just try and give my ships a general purpose in game and some limitations. The Explorer class has the following limitations. It's limited to Starship Design Rank 2 or less, so this is a mid-game kind of all-in-one purpose ship. Second, Explorer class ships have to have a science lab and an infirmary, be able to support a crew of 4 plus, have a cargo hold, and also have an armory. Now, this particular one, looking at it, you can see that I went with a semi-symmetrical build, and as can be seen by the name Catamaran, it kind of looks like it's a two-hold. Now, let's go ahead and take a quick tour, see what's inside, and then I'll show you how it's built. Now, for this particular ship, I did build it using mods. However, the only mod that is actually going to be relevant for this build is going to be the Play Store As Yourself mod. Everything else about the ship is basically vanilla. Alright, so you can see we are doing the tile lander directly into a armory, and this one is going to be well, all of the hold or habs, if I'm the one eventually, are going to go ahead and be Dymos. So you can go ahead and swap these out for whatever your favorite hab maker is, but I was kind of going for a mostly Dymos build with a smidge of Nova Galactic, and then, of course, naturally the lander. Alright, so moving forward, one of the things that makes this a kind of nice ship is the cockpit is literally right here. So straight in and out, and everything that you need is right here. Going up the ladder, you can see going up one level, we enter into the control station. And then directly in front, we have our infirmary. So we do have to navigate a ladder with any injuries, but it is still relatively close to the entrance. And you can see I did go ahead and put a series of windows all along the side. And then up on this top level, we find ourselves in the captain's quarters. All right, coming through this door over here, we find ourselves in the cargo hold. Again, not the greatest that we have to go up a ladder to get into the cargo, but sometimes you have to make compromises when you're building a ship. One of the nice things of note here is that this is a Dymos cargo hold, which does mean that it does have a bathroom located right over here. That does make it a total of 4 bathrooms on this ship. Moving on over to this side, we have an all-in-one, which gives us 4 beds and a bathroom, though I will note that we do not have a galley in this one because both the window and the door. Moving forward, we find ourselves in the second all-in-one. This is another bathroom, and then this is the only galley on board the ship. So all the cooking has to be done right over here. Then finally going down the ladder, we find ourselves in the science lab. Again, you can see I have the windows mirrored, same level on this side. And that is the full interior tour. So, running back on over here. Let's go ahead and see how the ship is built. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my golden color. I did this ship with two solid blocks of color. First is just the default black color, and then I filled that in with everything kind of on the mid-level, being this gold. You are, of course, welcome to go ahead and paint it whatever colors you would like, though. Oh, I see. And I also forgot to go ahead and put my shutters in here, or my passway here, so I will have to add that when doing this ship build. But we will have another pair of windows looking kind of across the middle here. Alright, so enough about that. Let's go ahead and see how the ship is built. So, very first thing is we are going to go ahead and grab our landing bay. And then we are going to go ahead and grab an 2x1. I'm going to pop on over here and grab my cockpit, which is going to be that Magellan C1X. Note here that you could also swap this out with a Viking bridge if you want it to extend out a little bit longer. However, that is going to mean that this is not tucked in underneath the front unless you also extend the length above. The other option would be to use one of the Tayo bridges. However, if you look at that, the bottom is going to seem unnaturally flat that way, in my opinion. However, for most of the other bridges, like the Commander or the Armstrongs or the Phobos cockpits, the hull it extends upwards enough that it's going to clip into the habs above, so that's why we're not using those. All right, next, right over here, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Docker. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the passway that I was missing. And then I will also go ahead and grab a passway here. And then I will put a ladder right here. Then I'm going to copy this up. I'm going to go ahead and put a door here. I'm going to put a ladder here. I'm going to go ahead and put a passway here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a door here. And I will copy this forward, copy this up, and here I will go ahead and grab a 2x2. Might as well make this the cargo hall now. And let me copy the passway up one. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and add a door. Copy the 2x1 across. Add a door. Add a ladder. Copy. Copy. Grab this passway. Copy it up. Grab this passway and place it right there. Alright, so that should be all the habitable portions. Now we need to go ahead and convert all of these into the appropriate habs. So this one here was going to go ahead and be our science lab. These were our all-in-ones. This is going to be our captain's quarters. This is going to be our control station. This is going to be our infirmary. This, as I already said, is the cargo hull. And then this is going to be our armory. Alright, now that that's all in place, let's go ahead and just go and put our portholes on really quick. There we go. And that is all of our portholes. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my landing gear. And I am using the NG-15 landing gear for this ship. Note the total mass for this ship comes out to be just over 800. So we could not go ahead and use just 4 of either the NG-10s or the 220CBs. I was experimenting with that a little bit, but we were just above our landing gear or landing thrust threshold. If you want to use those instead, you can, but you will need to reduce your cargo or you will need to run more landing gears. Alright. Next up, I'm going to come on over here to the back, and I'm going to grab my fuel tanks, which is a pair of the 400G HE3 tanks. This gives us a grand total of 280 fuel, which is sufficient. Next, I'm going to come on over here to engines, and I'm going to scroll on down until we get to the Hercules DT-130s. Now, do note I do have the better flips and snaps mod, which does add the front connections to these. However, I am only going to be needing the side connections right here. So this is still valid even in vanilla. Alright. Speaking of vanilla, if you do like this ship and you're playing the base unmodded game, you can still build this ship. However, it is probably going to change where it goes ahead and sticks ladders and such, which is going to be the only real downside. You might end up with something of a little maze. Like, for instance, it could make you come out here, go down, then go up to get here. Just some of the little annoyances from the vanilla game. Alright, so we have our engines. Alright, we still have 3 arrows left. We have our grav drive and reactor missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on over here and kind of mirroring the captain's quarters. I'm going to go ahead and add my reactor and grav drive. So normally with these ships, I do try and go ahead and use a Class C reactor or a Class A reactor, because the Class B reactors are kind of mediocre. What I mean by that is the Sphermac DC-201 requires Starship Design Rank 2 and gives us 28 power. However, for the Class B reactors limited to Starship Design Rank 2 or less, the best I can get is 24. That's going to be either the Ion Beam H1020 or it's going to be the 102 DS Mag Inertial. Both are basically identical. I just went with this one because it looks slightly more complete rather than diverging from the kind of blockier shape here. Next up, grav drives. I was able to get away with an R3000. This doesn't even require Starship design. And it's a Class A grav drive, so you're plenty fine. You could also go ahead and use one of the Class B grav drives, as long as it produces at least that 23 grav jump thrust. Do note that you will need somebody with the astrodynamics skill on board your ship. That's either your character or a crew member, if you want to have that 27 light year jump range with this grav drive. Alright, so we can see that at this point, all that we have left are warnings. So we need our shield, and then we just need our structure and weapons. So for shield, on top of the reactor, I'm going to go ahead and place mine here. And the best Class B reactor I can use is the Tower N410 shield generator. Everything else is just worse than that if you're limited to Starship Design Rank 2 or less. Of course, if you have better skills, swap it out. Alright, so at this point now, it's just structural elements and the cargo. So for cargo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a pair of cargo holds here and here. You can make this whatever cargo you want. However, I chose to go ahead and use a pair of the Caravel V104 cargo holds, just because it seems somewhat appropriate for its location. Other ones that would very easily fit there would be like a pair of the Gamma 1020s. This is going to be noticeably less cargo, but that is also accompanied by a noticeable drop in mass, which is going to then lead to more mobility for your ship. So if you like that instead, go ahead and use that. Or the other thing that you could do is you could get rid of these portholes and just use a 4 of the Gamma cargo holds. Next, over here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a pair of the Deimos bellies. Up here, the Deimos cowlings. Over here, I have the Deimos braking engines. And then finally in the middle here, I chose to go ahead and stick in the Nova wings. If you want, you can stick something else in the middle. If you want to have the weapons not kind of shoot through each other, you notice there's weapon mounts on top of these. You're going to need at least 4 weapon mounts, possibly more, but there's plenty of space that you can go ahead and stick kind of whatever you want all over here. Alright, so that is basically the ship, sans weapons, so let's go ahead and add those. And here I chose to go ahead and use the Disruptor 3310 proton beams. Come on. There we go. And you'll notice that there's a slight change in price. That's again because I had forgotten to go ahead and put the pathways across right there. Alright, so I have one error. I need to assign my weapons. And you'll notice I have a 25 equip power, only 24 reactor. But if you have either the anitronic fusion skill or somebody with the reactor power skill on your crew, like say Vasco, you can fully power this ship. Alright, now for the paint job, we're going to go ahead and paint everything black. And then we are going to come across this middle level. And then we are going to go ahead and paint this all gold. And there you have it. That is the Catamaran. So, let's go ahead and take it out for a quick spin, see how it holds up. Alright. And here we are in space. And now let's go ahead and take it out to Serpentis. I'm so used to nobody showing up here that I was caught a little bit unawares. Alright, so basically what I'm doing right now is just trying to get a bunch of distance. And then I will turn around and see who is so eager to blast me to pieces. Alright. And I'm going to go ahead and slow down. Let them catch up some. We can see that about 4,000 meters, these particle cannons will start touching them, which is part of the reason why I like this particular weapons loadout for my earlier game ships. And also, I'm not too worried about keeping my damage focused. I can just press the button and then let it happen. Alright, and this guy has come into range. And again, we just keep firing. Alright. There was one more guy over here, if I remember right. And just a basic revelation, so we will just keep aiming towards him, slow down some, but open fire. We'll see how long it takes for him to vanish. Alright, and there we have it. So, again, this is on extreme difficulty, but that's how you can go ahead and take even early-ish games ships out to very dangerous areas and still perform well. Alright. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it there. No reason to go ahead and watch any more random kiting. But we can go ahead and take a few pictures, and I will see you in the next one.